train. I'm your conductor, Miranda Silver Polensky, and where we're headed, the tracks don't lead to a tidy ending. They lead into the shadows. Before we go any further, I want to tell you something up front. I don't do this podcast for clicks. I'm not here to chase headlines. I do it because the stories I cover linger. They follow me, whispering in the quiet, staring back in the dark. Some nights, they don't let me sleep. And some of them never leave. This is one of those stories. You've been riding with me through Embers of a Secret, the case of the Austin yogurt shop murders. A case that gripped a city and never let go. A case full of unanswered questions, haunting silences, and consequences that stretched far beyond one horrific night. But to understand why things unfolded the way they did, we need to go back. Back to another time, another crime, another young woman whose life was stolen, and a confession that would ignite a chain reaction of tragedy, lies, and betrayal. It was the morning of October 24, 1988, just days before Halloween, when 20-year-old Nancy DePriest walked into work at a local Pizza Hut. The air was cool, the kind of morning where shadows seem to linger a little longer, and silence feels heavier than usual. Nancy was alone. She'd opened the store by herself before. But this time, she never walked out. What was waiting inside wasn't just darkness, it was pure evil. Her body was later discovered, bound and naked, a single gunshot to the head. A brutal, haunting crime. No motive, no mercy. And just like that, a sense of safety vanished, and a city already bracing for ghosts and monsters was met with something far more real. Fear, not what goes bump in the night, but of the fact that a killer was walking free in broad daylight. If you haven't subscribed to the Suspect Zone, what are you waiting for? Hit that notification bell before something hits back. Thanks for watching, and remember, not everything scary is make-believe. The police were under pressure, intense pressure, to make an arrest. And just 2 weeks later, they did. 2 young men who worked at a nearby Pizza Hut. Christopher Ochoa, 22. Richard Danziger, just 18. Roommates. Ordinary guys, until that day. Their so-called crime? Drinking a beer in the parking lot of the crime scene. When questioned, they said it was in her honor. They didn't even know Nancy, but in a city still trembling, that was all it took to label them suspects. And then came the interrogations. Detective Hector Polanco, a name you'll hear again, separated the two and went to work. After hours alone in a room, under threats and psychological pressure, Christopher Ochoa confessed. He told the police that he and Richard had raped and murdered Nancy. He described the crime scene, or rather, he repeated what detectives had told him. He agreed to a plea deal and promised to testify against his best friend. There was no physical evidence. There was DNA at the scene, semen, hair, and none of it matched either man. But it didn't matter. They were both convicted. Ochoa got life. Danziger too. Justice wasn't just blind in this case, it was willfully blind. Imagine this. Years have passed. The case is closed. 2 men are behind bars, labeled monsters. The world has moved on. But somewhere, deep in the system, a voice begins to rise from the shadows. His name is Akim Joseph Marino, a violent felon serving multiple life sentences. A man locked away for crimes of his own, who suddenly claims to be born again. Changed, haunted, not by what he was convicted for, but by something else. Something he says he did, years ago. Something the system got wrong. He begins writing letters. To the police. To the ACLU. To Governor George W. Bush himself. In those pages, he confesses to the rape and murder of Nancy DePriest. Not vague claims. Not half-truths. He names the place. The method. The murder weapon. Even the keys he used to enter the building. Details only the killer could know. Now imagine, all of that, ignored. Dismissed. Buried. Until finally, the truth clawed its way out, and forced the system to listen. When they finally listened, when they finally tested the DNA, it was a perfect match. Marino did it. Ochoa and Danziger were innocent. Completely, tragically innocent. Ochoa was released in 2001. Danziger, who had been beaten into permanent brain damage in prison, followed 2 months later. They were exonerated. They sued. They won. But no amount of money can ever restore what was stolen from them. And as their story came to light, so did another. A new set of arrests. A new set of teenagers. And at the center of it all? Once again, Detective Hector Polanco. The same man who had coerced Ochoa's confession in 1988. The same man now behind the controversial interrogations in the Austin yogurt shop murders. This isn't just a case about murder. It's a case about power. About pressure. About how the drive to close a case can sometimes blind us to the truth and destroy innocent lives along the way. This is part 3 of the Austin yogurt shop murders, and trust me, the deeper we go, the darker it gets. Thank you so much for all your support. Every listen, every share, every message you send, it means more than I can ever put into words. The Suspect Zone wouldn't exist without you. Your passion for truth, your hunger for justice, and your willingness to walk with me through these dark and complicated stories, it's what keeps this show alive. So whether you've been here from the beginning, or this is your first ride on the Suspect Zone train, thank you, truly. And remember, this journey isn't just mine. It's ours. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and never stop asking questions.